Strategic planning has never been more important for bank boards. This is a time of great change, great demographic change, a wave of non-bank competitors, technological change, and I think it's almost overwhelming for a lot of boards. So the reaction cannot be to step back and let others do the planning for you. I think this is a time where boards need to become more proactive. I once heard that the primary role of a board is to create long-term value for shareholders. And everything a board does flows from that. From the selection of the CEO to oversight of the bank's growth and profitability. And strategic planning is a key piece of this. What I often see happen is strategic planning and operational planning become blurred. And the board can often be more reactive than proactive because management will take the lead. But management's focus often is more short-term. What's going to happen over the next 6 months? What's going to happen over the next year? Where the board's focus needs to be more intermediate term. What's going to happen over the next 2 to 3 years? What are our growth potential opportunities? Are we going to expand geographically? What are we doing with regard to succession planning? And then most of all, what are we doing strategically? What are we thinking about? Are we thinking about positioning the bank for a sale? If not, are we thinking about selling some branches? Or would we like to be an acquirer? Those are the strategic conversations. And in my mind, the board should take the lead or do it with senior management rather than waiting for a plan to come to the board and then the board be reactive. I think this is very, very important because once those agenda items are set, then the operational planning can flow from it. And that is the responsibility of management. But true strategic planning is the purview of the board of directors, and the board should step up and take ownership of it. If I could give one tip to a board seeking to make the meetings they have more productive, it would be to consider the following. Look at the talent you have sitting around that board table, the years of experience, the wisdom, the sage advice, and then think about how much time in each board meeting is spent with those people listening to presentations. If you really consider that, it's usually 70, 80, sometimes 90% of the meeting, as opposed to getting input from the board members. So my one tip would be move to a consent agenda for the reports that are just information imparting to the directors so that they can read it. If there needs to be a vote, there can be a consent vote. And then you can have more of your meeting focused on discussions between the board members and management or among the board members so that you really get the value of those people sitting around the board table. I thought the governance survey did a great job in listing from the respondents all of the attributes and characteristics of successful board members. And I really can't improve upon that because that was fairly specific in terms of the types of information they should have coming in, the industry backgrounds, the diversity characteristics, all of which are very, very important. So I'm going to add 3 C's. This, if you just remember this piece, 3 C's: character, courage, and curiosity. First of all, character. People on bank boards need to be of upstanding character. There can be no question about that. The regulators demand it, and it's very, very important in terms of the running of a bank. So I would suggest when you're considering a new board member, don't just look at the resume. Take the time to meet with them, have dinner, coffee, lunch, get to know them. Think, will this person fit in within our bank board? Do they seem to kind of have the kind of character that fits our board? The second is courage. If we look back, particularly over the last 10 years, maybe 15, and consider some of the real controversies, some of the tough moments that have occurred in the banking industry, in my view, if a sufficient number of members of those bank boards had had the courage to step forward and say, this doesn't feel right, or this doesn't look right, or we are not satisfied with the answers that management is giving us, true disaster could have been averted. And that would have been good for the bank, that would have been good for the shareholders. But that takes courage. And it's difficult sometimes in the context of a board where everyone knows each other to step forward and say, we need to focus on this regardless of how uncomfortable it is. And then finally, curiosity. Not everyone who's on a bank board has a background in banking, nor should they. I think it's great to have a wide range of experience levels. But you need to have the curiosity about the banking industry to learn about the industry, because the more you know about the industry, the trends, what's occurring with your bank, what's occurring with peer banks, you'll be a better board member. If you have a sense of the whole, it's much easier to focus on the specifics of your bank. So I would just suggest you keep in mind those 3 C's.